shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you. So please, don't hide, just say I'll be there if it breaks, right beside you. Suddenly I know now how it feels. I no longer have to beg or steal. I can stand out on this higher ground, where love is just a sound. Where love is...
Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday
Father's
morning.
Day.
Yeah, happy Father's Day. Cheers to all the fathers out there today. How's it going, April?
It's going.
How's your week?
I feel like it's been forever since I've been on because I was sick. And then the
Yeah.
expo.
Yeah.
And then it's been what, 2 weeks?
Yeah, you missed. Yeah, it was. Yeah, 2 weeks.
Oh, I was sick forever. Like, I'm still sick. I'm not as sick as I was, but I was like really, really sick.
Well, you're feeling better now, and the kiddos are better too.
The kids never got sick. It was just me.
Okay, so it was just
I
you.
don't know.
Well, at least you didn't have to deal with that.
I don't know what I caught, but it was awful.
So hope
Anyway,
everyone had a good week. Like mine has been, it's been so busy. It's been a whirlwind. We had the expo this past weekend in Ottawa. First time that I've ended with Gecko Diva. We did a double booth. So Gerald and I
Right.
kind of tag teamed it, which was a little much to have the two booths at the same time. But you know, the kids were there to help, and that was kind of nice. But it was a good exposure for sure. I have a little video. Do you want me to play it?
Yeah, I do. Of course.
Yeah, let's pop this in here. Hold on. You're such a good helper. There we
Very
go.
nice.
So
Impressive.
two takeaways from this. One, I need more merch.
Did you sell it quick?
So yeah, on Saturday, basically sold out of merch. The only thing I had left was a hoodie that was like a triple XL and 2 like XL t-shirts.
Oh my.
Yeah. So for CRB, I'm going to be getting a lot more merch because people I guess really like the Gecko Diva logo was the
Yeah, it's super cute.
popular one. And the other thing was these water dishes caused a little bit of a buzz online. So I got these custom done with Reptiles R Us. So anyone in Canada, I think you can order them from the States too. But Reptiles R Us does 3D printing. So they do these like little water dishes and they're magnetic.
Yeah, I have some.
You can use them for your enclosures, and then they have the little dishes, like the little cups, and you can just kind of replace them. And so they usually do them in like brown and green and some more like plain colors. I was like trying to see if I could get them custom done with the pink. And yeah, like me, the geckos were drinking out of them in the dishes because I know we're changing some of the rules starting effective in July, so that the enclosure setups and at the expo need to be a bit different, and certain species need to have water offered and such. But I thought it would be nice to have these for the geckos instead of having to mist and whatnot, right? Because it's
Right.
long days for them. And yeah, they were drinking. And so if anyone wants any of these, reptiles are us. They're not sponsoring us or anything, but these are awesome. And I've
What kind
mentioned
of
them, I know,
buzz?
before.
What kind of buzz and feedback did you hear back about?
People love them, just
Yeah,
like really sharing it, saying, oh, Gecko Diva is putting water dishes in her like expo displays. And look, people say they don't drink water out of dishes, but she has a video of a gecko drinking water out of a dish. So it was
yeah,
that's the controversial one too with the setups. Some people use water dishes, other people don't. And that just shows like they will drink out of a water dish. I mean, whether
yeah,
you or not in your setup, it's, a personal preference. But yeah, it was kind of neat to have that and to show that to everyone. And I think I was pretty excited about the initial setup. Like for the first time to have it set up, it was fun.
yeah. It was great. I came in. I visited. I think like 3 times, just making my
Yeah.
rounds. And yeah, your booth. I really enjoyed your booth.
And we want to give some shout outs to people. We got 12 this morning. Some people are watching this morning on Father's Day. Thanks, guys. Um, Sean is in the house. Yeah, I made it. Good morning, ladies. Good morning, Shauna. Happy to have you. We got East Valley. Oh, so that's Chris from East Valley. Good morning, Chris. Northland Exotics is here. Good morning. And Chris is in the house, the fat man himself. Good morning, Chris. And there's the hubby here, Gerald. Happy Father's Day. On the Father's Day note, I did post on Instagram this morning the same thing we did for Mother's Day nominations.
Okay.
So on the story, if everyone wants to go and post, like nominate, just basically put in the Instagram tag for a father that they know and they want to support within the reptile community, and then we're going to go in and pick our favorite picture from their Instagram, and we're going to share it on their stories and tag them in it, and highlight and showcase and give credit where it's due to all the awesome fathers, because we can't forget them too. They're just as important as the mothers for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
What else do we have in here? Oh, we got Natty's Micro Pets in the house. Good morning. Flawless in the house. I'm excited to have them online today. Good morning. Nikita's here as well. Good morning, Nikita. Yeah, everyone loved the bowls with the water. They caused a little buzz. All right. Do you have anything else before we jump into today's tea?
Nope.
No? Okay.
Nope. Nothing.
Hold on. So usually we like to do a little bit of positivity every episode. Today's a little bit of a negative, but let's spin it to a positive. So a lot of you that frequent the Toronto Expo and were at the Ottawa Expo would know probably very well Exotic Addicts. I think they're just based in the Montreal area. So I think it was on Tuesday. Someone might correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. They ended up having a fire at their pet store. So one of their PVC enclosures, where one of their snakes caught fire, and it impacted quite a bit. And they have quite a few animals right now in vet care. So there is a GoFundMe, and there is a lot of posts circulating to support and to help support them through this hard time. I've been sharing it on Instagram. I didn't get a chance to make a little post for here, but what I'll do is I'll tag them after the episode's done I'll put their info in the info at the bottom of the YouTube video. And I think to flip that to a positivity is maybe to kind of have people within the community try to help support them, because that's a scary thing. Like, have reptiles, especially when you have reptiles that require heat, basking lamps, heat, mats. I know for me, for the ball python side, like, you can have the thermostats, you can have everything set the way it is, but it's always a scary
Yeah,
risk, right?
it can happen to anybody. So last year, I had one of my heat tapes, like in a brand new rack. Okay, I think I only had it for 2 years, not even 2 years.
Yeah.
On the bottom, the heat tape had overheated and it melted right through one of my ARS tubs, completely melted. And I have a herpstat, I had the good heat tape, blah 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 blah. But things happen, right? And I was
Yeah.
really, really lucky that so I don't like to cram my snakes into small tubs for that reason, right?
Yeah.
Because snakes aren't dumb. If it's too hot, they will move, right?
Mhm.
So she actually had herself at the front of the tub, away from all of the heat and the melting, everything. Like, and it happened so fast because I was just in there the night before doing waters and stuff like that, and I didn't smell anything funny. Nothing was hot, right? And then the
Mhm.
next morning I went in and I could smell, it smelled like salt. Like, it was
Okay.
really salty in there. And I was like, why does it smell like salt? And I went looking, and it was one of the ARS tubs that was melting.
And that's scary because that's a huge investment to buy those racks, and you're like really putting, you're saying you're buying a quality product, and not saying there's anything wrong with those racks. It's just sometimes that, like, we have ARS here. They're great quality racks. We love them. But it can happen anytime with anything. It just, sometimes there's a defect. Sometimes it's just, you
No
never
rhyme or
know.
reason for it. It was just, the one part of the heat tape that melted. It was the end, like the end portion of it. All the other heat tape was fine. It wasn't even worked. It was just that part that was faulty, right?
Yeah.
And I ran it for a year and a half before that. And people will be like, oh, well, it's just old. But no, it's not, because I've been running off some of the same heat tape that I've been using since I started. 5, 6, 7 years ago, and it's fine. Right?
Yeah.
It's just things happen, and it's really, really sucks for them, big time.
Yeah, it does. I think another key takeaway too from it would be, and that kind of had me thinking, is what's your evacuation plan? Because I started thinking there, I'm like, well, if there's a fire, like, what do you do? Like, what's your first go-to? Like, is there a plan in place
Right.
especially when you have so many animals? Like, I know,
Yeah.
like, DPR Cold Blogs had their flood, right? So they had a bit of a plan where, bring things up. And it's a little bit less of a challenge when it's a flood, because you're dealing with rising water levels and you have a little bit more time. With a fire, it's a little bit more of a quick action.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, let's say there's a fire that happens. Like, how many geckos do I have? And, with snakes, you can kind of just put them in snake bags and go. Like, with the geckos, like, that's something a little bit more to think about, what the plan is. And
yeah. So I like, honestly, I don't know. I don't have a plan for the geckos because they're the tubs that you have to carry, right?
Yeah.
And with you specifically, you'd be making multiple trips because you don't want your kids in a burning house, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a priority list, right?
Do you shove them out the basement window? Because you have a basement window, right? Do you just like shove them out the window, like yeet them out, get out, and then go around and get them?
Yeah. And then Gerald says, yeah, only if you're there, because sometimes it could happen and you can be not home. You could be at work or something, Yeah, no, that's true. Well, food for thought. But if anyone can go and if you can, not pushing anyone to do it, but if you have the ability to go and help and support, you can find all the info on their page. So they're Exotic Addicts, and I will link them in here as well, because we try to support as much as we can within the community. And if someone is in need because of a situation, we definitely want to have the ability to be able to promote that here. And they're pretty like, they're at all the expos, right? Like, they're pretty known.
I just seen them at the Auto Expo, actually.
Well,
Just seen them.
Well, they came by and grabbed some Gecko Diva merch.
Right.
So, right. Yeah. So, yeah, on that note, like go and support them. And yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't really have anything else for positivity. Do you have anything else to add for this week?
No, it's been such a busy week. Like, I don't know. I think the older I get, the faster my weeks go. Like, it's just like boom. Like, it's like the flash, it's gone. Like, I can't even remember what I did yesterday.
Yeah. So we'll bring our guests in. I'll play the little espresso kind of thing, even though it's a little bit of a different format today, because we're spending a lot more time discussing with our guests, and it's not so much just looking at the top 5 geckos and such. But you'll see when we get into it. So we'll go into our next segment. Good morning.
Good morning.
We have Will and Audra from Flawless Crested Geckos, and it's your ball python one. It's Flawless Exotic Creations.
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. How are you guys today?
Doing well.
Yeah, great. It's earlier for us here.
Yeah. Where are you guys located, and what time is it there?
South Carolina, and it's 9:00 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So same time zone.
So where are you located? I guess
we're just outside of Ottawa. So yeah, it's 9:18 here as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We're late people.
Yeah.
Very late people, aren't we?
Whatever.
2:00 in the morning.
Up late and get to sleep in a little bit. I'm the opposite. I go to bed really early, and then I'm up really early.
Yeah, me too. I'm like old lady vibes over here.
Dinner at late.
Dinner at 4:30. Dinner at 4:30. We see a lot of older people going to dinner at like 4:30. I'm like, good grief, that's really early.
Yeah. So tell everyone about you. Like, where did the name come from? How did you come up with Flawless Crested Geckos, and how long have you been in the game? So everyone can kind of get a. I'm sure most people here watching know who you are. So.
Honestly, I think we just as far as our name is concerned, wanted something that wasn't cliche, wasn't kitschy, I guess. That we wanted something that was, could be an umbrella for other businesses, different things. We've always had big things in mind for us, whatever it may be. So when we said flawless can go into any industry in anywhere and actually work. It's also, you can remember that pretty easily,
right.
Versus, something that's very specific to a certain niche. So we're like, let's find something that, just explains how we want to run our business, how we want to do customer service, all of those things. So
right.
Flawless just
it's something we strive for, something we aim for. We were actually collecting and started breeding before we branded ourselves and came up with the name. So that was an entire process as well. Kind of running things by each other, trying to be creative, thinking of names before we even started working on logos. And then when we finally, agreed upon it, that's when we started the logos. When we first did the logos, I believe we did 4 or 5. I don't even think we used all of our logos that we initially started with, so we can roll everything out in phases.
You wanted the logo to be flawless.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. We get a little flack at the beginning because of that as well. So we explain to people that that's what we strive for. Nobody is perfect, no one is without flaws. So that's our aim, is to hopefully strive for flawless. So that's why we branded it that way. But seeing it for face value, you would see people comment like, no one's flawless. That's cocky. And it's like, no, that's what we're going for.
We immediately saw that happening, and it's like, you just gotta laugh that kind of stuff off.
Yeah, and just stay on your path.
Yeah. So that's pretty much how we came up with the name Flawless.
Yeah.
I think I actually said I like Flawless. I liked Flawless Exotics, but I think that actually was taken or
I don't
something like
remember.
that. Yeah, I think it was taken at the time. We were looking for something that just could be one thing across the
Right.
board, and of course we came up with Flawless Crested Geckos because we were just in Crested Geckos, and now we have Flawless Exotic Creations.
Right.
And that's because, like I say, Flawless Exotics was taken initially.
And then the next step will be branching off, you know, flawless real estate and you
We've
know, things,
I've been looking at like some different
everything under
umbrella
flawless
names, like umbrella things, and Flawless is, of course, tons of people use Flawless in their names
Right.
across different industries.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at like Flawless Enterprises or Flawless Inc. Something interesting.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Like when I picked Gecko Diva, initially I had a blog and it was Rural Diva. And it was all about like, you know, fashion and recipes and all sorts of stuff. And so I kind of hung on to that word, but then brought in the gecko. And then some words you can kind of use, right, to kind of make it more of an umbrella, like you're saying. And well, April has ALP; those are her initials. She could put
Those are my
ALP. She's like, you have ALP Morphs, you know, which you can use for your ball pythons, your geckos, and now you have a tropical one, right, for your plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's actually so funny because I got that name, like ALP, years and years and years and years ago when I was going to the gym. I used to go to the gym all the time. And I earned ALP just by going to the gym. That's what the gym rats would call me. And I'm just like, okay. And it just kind of like stuck. So I would have never thought all by myself to call myself ALP.
It's a nickname.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you guys been, I guess, breeding into geckos, but then also running your business? Because I guess you said you had geckos beforehand, right? And you were working with them. And then like, when did that line change? Where you?
I would say what, 2017, 2000 something.
Yeah. Well, so this is the way it ended up working. When we first got into it, we were both in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
So stopped into a pet store and kind of went down that rabbit hole.
No, you stopped into a pet store.
Right. And brought home 4 of them
For babies.
for pretty much all of our kids. Yeah. And it was a tough time when we first got started. As far as in life, I mean, we didn't go anywhere. We didn't do anything. We saw each other in passing. Relationship was not the strongest.
No.
And it's just, we was in a bad spot. I guess you could say not bad, because I'm sure people had worse issues than we had, but relationship wise, communication wise, it just was like non-existent. And we didn't look at, oh, Crested Geckos is going to change all of this. That's not what happened. But I saw it. I thought it was kind of cool. It was interesting. And the employee lied to me and told me, oh, this is easy. Throw a few crickets in there every week and you get to go. Brought them home. And, you know, a little bit of history for me, and it drives her crazy, is I will research things to death.
Well, it doesn't necessarily drive me
Yes, it does. Because she's like, babe, don't you want to go to bed? Don't you want to come to bed? Don't you want to watch a movie? I'm like, yeah, hold up 1 minute. It drives her crazy.
But it's like sort of like a double-edged sword, because like if he doesn't do all that research, like I'm not doing all that research because I can't stay focused. I have ADHD terribly bad, and so it's just like sometimes I've joked before, because we do YouTube videos and all that kind of stuff, and I've joked before because I'm like, yeah, if ours is past 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you can forget me watching ours.
My husband popped my name in the chat because my nickname is Fruit Fly. Because I'm like all over the place. Because I'll be like, oh, this, and then I'm like, oh, what about this? And then he's like, oh, yes. Around.
I have like 50,000 projects in the house going at one time, and it's like I never can get any of them like actually done.
No,
it's like overwhelming. Like, you're in. You do the research.
So I did the research, and then everything was coming up completely the opposite of what I was told by the representative, I believe, at Petco or PetSmart. So we went down that information rabbit hole and found out all the good details, but then we also saw all the goriness in the Facebook groups. And so we were right out the gate, kind of observant of what was going on.
Yeah, I think that being in the police world helped us with that, because anytime you are uniform patrol, which is what we both were, you deal with calls for service. Yeah. So you're actually a street cop. You go out there and you deal with domestics. You deal with fights. You deal with
people at their worst moments.
At their worst moments. And the thing is that the one thing that you have to do as a police officer, you have to observe what's going on.
Right.
When you show up. So before you even make any type of decisions or say anything in those moments. So it's just like being able to look in these Facebook groups and see different personalities and take in like who has that negative vibe and who is like genuinely trying to learn, who has questions, what is their background and why are they asking certain things. Like that helped us a lot, because we observed everything from the beginning, and we still do. We still watch everything. So.
And then things can also be lost in translation as well. I think a lot of people don't take that into consideration. Someone can post something and it be a horrible, husbandry, whatever it may be. And you get some people that support them say, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. That may be brand spanking new. If they started how we started, then they got whatever information from what they thought was the right way to go.
Or the little pamphlet that you get.
And then you'll have some people, unfortunately, that see it and they just get so frustrated because they love geckos so much and they just lash out. That's horrible. And it's like the person that's receiving the information now gets combative, argumentative. And it's like, it's just this revolving circle that never gets fixed. So I do think coming from a police background, that helped us tremendously, just kind of just step back and observe. We still get private messages all the time with pictures or videos. And literally people say, I was scared to post this, but I wanted to see if you can help. Absolutely. Yeah. Keep on sending them through, because that's the main goal, is to help people get situated.
And that's the thing, like, the way we learned as we got into these Facebook groups, and we would post randomly, just like very generic posts. You see a lot like geckos that are pictured in nice poses and things like that. We might post, and I think there was a group called What's My Gecko Worth? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of them.
Like we would post in there and just engage with different people. But as far as like just looking into the Facebook groups and searching for information, we were observant of said information and took everything in. And then we're able to research further on our own to decide what was best.
And it also helped for when we started going to shows to actually meet some of the people behind the names online. So that was nice.
Yeah. It's kind of a good place. Like I do the same too. I kind of try to take it in more than like I'm in a place where I'm not necessarily participating as much, and I kind of want to see what people are saying, what the opinions are, where they're coming from, who's saying it, why are they saying it, and then kind of see the different diverse opinions. You get to learn a lot, one, about different people and how they conduct themselves, right? And also just by kind of being a silent observer, you can kind of see the background from it and why, people are saying certain things. I know that some of the morph groups too can be a little bit harsh sometimes. You'll have someone who's new and they're like, oh, is my gecko look like a pixel? And then you'll have people are quick to jump on and say no, and then be so negative. And you're like, well, there's a way you could say it without being so mean.
Right. Accurate.
Exactly.
Accurate. Yep.
So, you guys started first with Crested Geckos. When did you start with the ball pythons?
We've been ball python. This is our second year, so 2 years with the ball pythons. Yep.
And you guys have quite a big collection, between the Cresties and the ball pythons. So, if you venture a guess, where are you thinking?
Right around 2,000 geckos, and right around with hatching season, so right around 250 ball pythons right now.
Holy, you jumped right in.
April's eyes are just like, whoa.
Yeah.
It kind of depends on what time of the year.
Right.
Action season, we're more, and then on the off seasons,
Because it's a different business plan with the Crested Geckos. We try, especially with our breedings, we're our favorite customers, so we hold back the best of the best. But we tend to hold back everything at least for 11 months, a year. So like when we start releasing things, it's already grown up here pretty much for a year.
They're already,
before they've been put out.
Yeah, they've already been sexed. They're able to be, oh, this is a female or this is a male.
Right. And that was by design as well, because that was something that we sat back, we observed, we saw, anything with the business. She's going to jump on her soapbox, I'm sure, with what's that phrase you use, baby? When you're challenging things, checks and balances.
Devil's advocate?
Yeah, well, yeah, that too. But when you have a problem that's presented, you have to figure out how you're going to circumvent it or solve that problem. So we would sit back and we would see all these crazy projects, prices was through the roof, and we would see people, buy this, and and no matter who does what, you see 12-gram gecko, absolutely stunning, and somebody needs that, and they're going to pay $1,000 for it, but they needed a girl, and they bought it, and 4 months later it's a male, and it's well, you sold it as a female. You didn't even tell them probable. Trying to solve that problem. Yes, we will sell younger geckos here and there, but everything is going to be probable male, probable female until we see the hemipenis bulge drop, or they're 25 grams. You got to figure out some type of standard on what you want to go by and ride that line all the way out. We saw that happening a lot. And depending on where you are as far as building your business or brand or even keeping, that can kind of really make or break you. You spend $2,000, $1,000 on a gecko that you hope and believe is the opposite sex of what you actually have. It could really
really set you back,
Well, especially in big projects too, right? I can tell you this happened to me a few times where I've bought some that were no pores visible, probable female, and they turn out to be male. I bought my visual xanthic based on possible pores, and now there's a bulge, so I'm really excited that it is a male, right? So,
and that's the important thing about it, though, because at least if you were told, hey, this is probable, it's going to put that doubt in your mind where it may not be, but at least you're understanding that you're buying that with that understanding.
You're not under the guise of something else.
Right.
Like you're not being tricked at all. And I think a lot of times people,
they want to close the sale.
Yeah. And I think that's really where that is, where people are legitimately saying, okay, this is a male, this is a female. And they're just trying to make their sale. And that's fine, but that's just not how we conduct our business.
And we've told people time and time again, they're like, this is a male, this is nope, this is probable male. We got pores here, or this is a female. Nope. We reiterate it time and time again.
And we do that in writing as well.
So that they can see.
And then you got pseudopores too, which can play tricks on people.
Yes, it can. We've had a couple like that.
There's been, and people need to understand that in hatching out so many geckos, there's going to be different situations you're presented with. We've had females well into their 30s grams drop in between balls. Yes.
And you're like, I thought you were a female. I was so certain.
Yes. I'm like, oh, good grief. 30 grams, and here you go, dropping that.
Yeah. So,
but I mean, like, there's always outliers to everything.
Absolutely.
But most of the time, we can, say 25 grams. Once you reach 25 grams, unless it's already showing a bulge, then you're pretty much a female.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just it keeps things above board and making sure that everyone knows the parameters of what your deal is at that point.
Right.
Like, this is what you're paying for, and if it is this, then it is. If it's this, then great. Whatever it is, that's what you're paying for.
And her phrase was the SWOT analysis.
Oh, a SWOT analysis, yes. So this is like an actual Will and Audra argument, I guess you would call it. Because I said initially when we were setting up our business, I was like, because we were putting together business plans and vision statements, mission statements, all that crap. And I said, we need a SWOT analysis. And a SWOT analysis in any business across the board is your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. So what you do is you basically have like a table, and in each block is one of them, and you list out all the potential, things that you could come across, your opportunities, your strengths, your weaknesses, your threats to your business. And then that way, when it's out on paper, you can actually see it and plan, your plans around all of those things. You can really go for it with your strengths. And if you see an opportunity that might present itself along the way, it's already in your mind when you put it out on paper. And I'm like, we should do this with the business. And like, we don't need that. And I'm like,
well, and that's the difference between two people, and she'll agree.
But wait, I'm not finished, because 2 years into it or 3 years into it, he goes back through and makes the comment, well, this is an opportunity and this is a strength and this. I'm like, hold up. Are you doing a SWOT analysis? No, I'm not doing it. Yes, you are. And we had an argument about this 2 or 3 years ago.
Did you finally admit that you were wrong?
I'm not.
No,
I'm still not wrong.
He will never
this
wrong.
is
There's been
typical
very few times in this man's life that he's ever
Audra
admitted that he
brain,
is wrong.
woman brain, men brain.
Watch yourself. You keep.
So let me explain that. So I always tell her the same exact thing.
Listen, they're gonna be on my side.
Before I bring something to the table or whatever we need to do, whether it's business related, home related, I'm already thinking to myself, I come up with this plan, a concept, and I'm already thinking of how it won't work. And when I try different things on how it won't work, and I finally come upon the decision that, this actually will work, then I bring it to her. And now we both talk about it. And 9 times out of 10, we end up on how it's going to work. We already try to poke holes in it.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is what.
Which her, she's like,
actually,
right. So I'm already there already. She's more like, hey, let's build the house in 4 hours. I'm like, what? you from the ground up, you want to build it. And
listen,
that's how her brain works.
I think we can get it done by noon.
Yeah.
Like, that's that time concept in ADHD.
See?
But
that's why she needs that SWOT analysis written out.
So
it helps you make like checklists, okay? And checklists are very, very helpful.
It's so see. SWOT analysis is not a police thing, but it is funny because you think
they use it.
Yeah, they use it interchangeably. SWOT in business sense is SWOT because it's opportunities and threats, and then SWOT obviously is SWAT. But it is kind of funny, the parallel. I see the Good Gecko is in. Yay! Hey, Myrelle. She's a Patreon member. So
yes.
Thank
We
you
also
for coming.
got Bash Coder popped in too. Bash Coder has been very much championing a lot of the positivity, in the community.
Absolutely, love it. We're actually on a podcast with them not too long ago. But yeah, we started the Snakes only 2 years. This is our second season.
Yeah. So, and I'll credit him for this. He has like this innate ability to see things before they're going to happen. It's actually a word that I've used several times, perspicacity. So he has like perspicacity, and it's like this situation where you know what somebody's going to do 4 or 5 steps before they actually do it. It's like something that is installed in his hard drive. And I'm very blessed for that because it creates this business mindset that he is just able to understand like what moves we need to make and when we need to make them.
Right.
I am more of like the creative mindset. And we both of us have owned businesses prior to this. So business sense in and of itself is like a little bit of common sense. And understandably across the board, not a lot of people have common sense.
Right.
Apparently. You have to teach that sometimes. But I think we just work well together as far as that is concerned. And anytime we see like situations like the missexing different animals and stuff like that. As far as Cresties are concerned, like we already knew that from a business standpoint, it is better to be above board about it and not have these argumentative situations that you put yourself into. So just before you even jump, before you even make that sale, we would rather not make that sale and create a business relationship with someone that appreciates that and comes back to us for other things along down the road. And we would rather somebody be able to prosper and be successful in what they're doing rather than to set them up for failure for 2 years down the road. That's just our style. So
Jill says it's awesome to see wonderful people succeed. It's amazing.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
And Tammy says, one of my voice acting coaches was in the military and she uses it in her coach. So she's talking about the SWAT.
I know. Yes. Yeah. It's a very well-known business tactic for most every business that is very successful. They've done this particular analysis, in their marketing and their business strategies, in their I guarantee you that big businesses such as, I don't know, like
a lot of businesses use it.
Every business you can think of.
Almost a one size fits all.
It
we
is.
Use it even on the SWAT team in police, and we use it as well. And you can use it in career pathing. So
very
many
much
different
so.
ways.
You can use it in personal development,
absolutely,
in customer service.
So I know there's a lot of people who watch this that are, new a couple years in the Gecko game. So I think they'd be interested to know, how long did it take you guys to kind of find your footing and kind of reach that level that, you wanted to reach? And what was the biggest, I guess, influence that helped you get to that point?
I honestly, as far as influence is concerned, it was, this is what we have to do. This is a sort of a make it or break it type of thing, sink or swim. Influence for us is ourselves, meaning our family, our children, our whole life is based off of the freedom that we have now is based off of this business. So it wasn't necessarily like in our minds, of course, we didn't think it would be as big as it was when we were starting it, but the way we work, and I think that's why we work so well together, is that whatever we put our minds to, that's what we're going to do until it gets done. And that's just, it's like a consistency thing. So it took a long time. It took a long time of hearing no's, and took a long time of putting things up there and getting nothing for it. Consistency. But consistency is the main thing.
I would say, that's the biggest thing, period. Consistency. We used to come out with gecko releases to our website, and there will be crickets. Like not a single gecko will be purchased, inquired about, repeatedly 4 or 5 times, doing all this work, photographing throughout the night, just to upload geckos, and nothing's going on. Consistently posting on a daily basis.
0 likes.
Nothing going on. So consistency has to be there to build, but you have to believe in yourself as well. But you also have to set some type of parameters. And Audra's in a house full of men, so she's had to adjust to a lot of things.
My girl, she's gone off to college and abandoned me.
So it's very difficult, and I have to, commend her for that, because it's a lot of testosterone going around in the house. A horse playing,
challenge in itself, right?
It's crazy.
But I do, you know what? I'm so very blessed, because I am, I think to the future, and we have a blended family. So I have a child from a previous marriage. He has 3 kids from a previous marriage, and they are just our whole family. Like they're ours. And so I feel so blessed, because I feel like in the future, if somebody were to try to mess with me, I can already say my boys are going to be on them, white on rice. It's crazy. Even now, it's hilarious, because
they're wrestling, they're football, and track.
They're men's men, they're boys.
Of course, playing boxing and wrestling ourselves. And I say all that because in the building of the business, we took a lot of the, and it's probably not going to be the popular opinion, but we took a lot of the choices and decisions away from them. They have everything under the sun TVs,
Y'all, we
video
have, like,
games, laptops,
Mhm.
everything, phones.
all our money goes to them.
And so
I
they
feel
have,
ya.
oh yeah,
Them
but
and the animals.
they also don't get a lot of choices. So
No.
when it comes to sports, just to make sure that we build them up health wise, they feel that we feel that they need to be a part of it. They're made to participate in
Yeah,
a sport
they don't
every
get options.
season. So if you don't have a sport that you want to get in, I'll pick one for you. So
Yeah.
you need to play sports, but to feed them, it's kind of sharpened them as well, because
Yes.
they also, I was laughing earlier because if we go to bed late, I tend to get up early because I also train them, personal trainer as well. So I take them to the gym.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, a lot of other parents don't understand the mental toughness portion of fitness. Is more mental toughness than it is actual physical.
Absolutely. April, if you went to the gym years ago, you probably know that concept.
And
Oh,
I
yeah.
pushed them very, very, very hard. And when they first got it started, even running around the neighborhood, running a mile and a half or so, you know,
Here's
my youngest
spitting.
son, he'll be like snot coming out his nose, tears running down his face.
And you're like, come
And
on.
people are looking at us like, why is he doing that to them? And now they run it and they smile and they talking with you.
Yeah.
You build up
Yeah.
that resistance. You know, you have to build that up. And the same thing in the gym. And now they're pretty much some of the strongest kids on the teams and whatever they're playing. But more so, we're trying to build them and prepare them for life and taking care of their families.
Yeah.
And being able to deal with being told no. Sometimes you have to tell your kids no, not for a reason. Just it's no. You get
It's
no
no.
explanation.
And they need
It's
to understand that disappointment of hearing no too, right?
Absolutely.
Not always hearing yes, yes, whatever. Like we're the same with our kids. Like they don't go without, but they
right.
know that it's not it's not owed to them. Like it's a privilege that
Mhm.
they can get these access to certain things, you know, trying to keep them
Absolutely.
physically active because it helps them with their brain and being able to,
Absolutely.
like my son plays competitive soccer.
Nice.
And our daughter, I grew up horseback riding, so I did a lot of show jumping and stuff when I was younger. So we tried to get her into show jumping, and she didn't really like the horses, so she's more into swimming. So she does
Right.
swimming. Myself, I was in the gym, but it's the mental piece is the hard piece. Like I have to
Setting
get
it up.
myself back in there, and you almost need 2 months of consistency to
Yeah.
kind of get, back into the game and make it part of your routine.
Yes.
And I
Right.
know for me, I struggle with that. So I see it with the kids too, when they're
Mhm.
in the winter time, if it gets really colder and they're not being as active when spring comes around and you're kind of pushing them out there, it's tough to get back into that routine and
Right.
it's a mind game.
It's definitely a huge mind game, and I don't throw it out there too much because she thinks I'm crazy. But I treat everything as life or death. I be in that gym cursing myself out. You would think I'm an absolute madman in the gym.
You think
But
he's a menace
yeah,
to society, but he's really not.
I'm in there getting it done. I see Gerald asked about chores. So the way we
No.
structure things in the
Okay.
house,
Yeah, because
they don't get paid for any chores in the house
Not enough.
whatsoever.
We're the
but-
same. That's why he's
I don't
asking.
pay my kids for anything.
Yeah, no.
Sorry,
But
you have
the
a
only thing now,
supposed to be back.
as a business though, we do employ them. So we actually employ them as a business. We have EIN, LLC. Now they do get paid to actually work. And then we often get the question, oh, do they like it? We don't really ask them. This is what they're
No,
told
they don't
to
like
do.
Not everybody likes their job. Let's be real.
Let's
But
be real.
they'll learn though, and we know from experience that the job, they will love this job once they finally get out there in the real work world.
Mhm.
Where I mean,
Right.
TV they can
Yeah.
watch while they're working.
Yeah.
There are no uniforms,
Yeah.
no bosses on their backs.
They're
It's
at
just
their
so
house.
easy. Yeah.
Like if they need to run up to the house and use the bathroom real
Right.
quick, or
They need to
if
do
they
whatever.
need
Yeah.
to want to go get something to
Yeah.
eat or something to drink, then they have that
The
opportunity.
convenience is there, but
Yeah.
we have to give them that structure where they are made to work, a certain amount of hours. Certain duties are their duties to get done. Like we're doing a little bit of rat breeding, rodent breeding. So
Some
they'll
of
be
their
washing
stuff,
the
they wash the
tubs
tubs
and,
out.
most of their stuff is cleaning.
Yeah.
They don't tend to the actual animals too much.
So, well, I will say I'm funny because I don't like getting up on the very top of the racks. Like they're
Yeah,
pretty
you
tall for us, like some of our
Everything's
enclosure
tall for you, baby.
Hush. Anyway, all the people in my household are much taller than me. So a lot of times I'm down in the facility, I'm feeding geckos or whatever, and Abel's down there. I have taught him how to go through the enclosures and feed and water, and he will do that. He'll get up on the top and he'll do all the top six enclosures on each rack, and so he does pretty well with that. But I think Aiden and Luke, they really.
I made them do all the grunt work.
Yeah, they get all.
Clean this bin. Clean this bin.
They're like their sponge, and they're like Cinderella in there. But
Hey, my son, he cleans the gecko dishes for me, and I appreciate it.
Wash too. Abel, he washes too. Like he washed like probably I don't know how many.
Yeah.
How many 6-quart tubs the other day? He was down there for like 4 or 5 hours.
I go down there and pick with make real.
Oh yeah.
While they're down there cleaning and scrubbing underneath.
This latest one was, "Hey Siri."
Alexa.
Or,
Well,
hey,
Alexa.
It was Alexa. "Hey Alexa, make Aiden useful."
Hey.
He's like they keep back and forth with each other.
Man.
Yeah.
So our son Aiden's 17, and when he was a bit younger, he came home and he was like, all my friends get paid, an allowance, for cleaning dishes and this and that. And I'm like, that's lovely. I said, cleaning dishes is a normal part of your contribution as a family member. When you go and you live on your own as a young adult, no one's paying you to clean dishes. So I don't want to set that expectation that cleaning your room, doing your laundry and all that is expecting some sort of payment. So like with the pigs, he mucks stalls and I pay him to muck stalls. He's very integrated with the pig business where I really had him involved, and he would help show the pigs and really be involved in the business side of things to learn business. But also he makes a percentage off of pig sales. So he has more of an invested interest in the business and he learns the business side of things too. Right. But I'm not paying him for dishes.
Now the kids, they'll tell you they love the whole new, full-time breeder setup where pretty much every single day cooking them dinner, sitting down, talking with them.
Here.
Every single school event, parent teacher, they're shocked, honestly, because they're like, Dad is here? Is Mom coming? It's like it's so involved in every aspect of what they have going on, and the timing wise. So a lot of people look at it as so many animals, so much care, and it really is. But it's sacrifice and reward. We have spent numerous days during the week or whatever, 14-hour days, 16-hour days here and there.
Hello, there was one week. I remember this was back years ago when I was working, I think, dispatch at the time. And I pulled out of the driveway, and 57.5 hours later, I pulled back in the driveway. So I was going from job to job.
Wow.
Now to do that here for yourself, where you're going to put in, let's say 2 or 3 days a week where we're down there anywhere from 12 to 16 hours, that's easy. You still got the rest of the whole week, so, and you're home. You're literally 40 feet from my house to go down to the facility.
Well, it's funny because it's like, I say it all the time, like when you own your own business, it's 24/7, 365. But at the same time, like it allows you to be doing what you want in that 24/7, 365. So
absolutely.
Whereas I'm not working for somebody else, I'm working for myself, building a legacy for my family, for my children, and I have the freedom to do that.
Right. And that's the biggest message we want to put out there, actually. It's easy to think it, but to apply it, it's a little harder, because you're not getting, let's say, a check every week or every other week. That's a set amount. You have to understand, I think everyone understands that they can accept you're going to work or should be working harder for yourself than anybody else. Now, what that actually looks like could be various things. I mean, like I said, you may not get a check this week, next week, but then blow it out of the park the week after. So
you
during
have
that
to know how
time
to
period,
budget.
not only budget, but during that time period, that doesn't mean, we're not really getting paid, so let's let up on the amount of work. You still got to go out
do the same
an hour,
thing.
no matter what.
Well, and the thing is I saw this post, actually, it stuck with me. and it was a post from Morph Market, actually. I think it was on Darian's actual profile, the owner of Morph Market. And he said, people don't understand that for years. I would go from year to year. Some years would be awesome. And then some years I'd have to put everything on a credit card and live credit card to credit card. And then the next year I'd have an awesome year and I could pay off all those credit cards just to apply for more to make sure I had a backup in case this particular year wasn't going to be so great. And he said, once you keep pushing, you keep going and you get through those times, then eventually on the other side of things, it's like, oh, wow, this is the breakthrough. You never know how close you are to that breakthrough. So just don't give up. Like, you only fail.
Keep pushing. Yeah. So with you guys, with the Crested Geckos, do you have specific projects that you're working on? So usually we talk about like, favorite geckos and such, but you have so many. We decided we might talk about projects instead, right? So which ones are you most excited about that are your top, I guess, projects that you're working with?
She has her own favorites. I have my own favorites.
I do. I'm always searching for that.
Turn.
Yeah, I'm always like searching for that. So you guys know who Emily Burke is. Yeah. Emily Burke is very well known, and she has these beautiful paper white, like thick white crested geckos that have different colors attributed to it, like the oranges and the different things. With us, it's more like we like the red, right? So in my objective for the next several years is I want to improve upon our highlights, because we already have like amazing highlights, but I really like that thick white wall. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. And then one of my absolute favorite projects is Empty Back. And our OG Mama Crin, she's been put into, we actually have xanthic hets with her now. So it's really awesome. I want to see the xanthic Empty Back project really, really flourish. So I'm excited about that.
Exciting.
It's probably surprising, but one of our latest addition over the last few years actually was Super Dolls.
Now
our project is
ink spots.
Going through the roof at this point. We have a lot of heavy hitters on both the male and female side. And we have like little hatchling babies that are literally in golf spots. So that's been very interesting to see it progress.
We like the white base, like the really, really clear white. It's almost like a pink. You've seen the like the pink backgrounds to a lot of these geckos, or your really high yellow. It's like a pale pastel yellow that's got all the black ink spots on it. That's our objective with that. And
then also, we adapted from the ball python world, but the gene stacking of genes, we're loving how the Lily White Xanthic program is coming along. We actually have Hypo Phantom Lily White Xanthic. Awesome. We're working those projects, trying to see what direction we want to go in first, whether we want to go toward cappuccino or sable, and see what we want to add into that.
Because we have both. We have both sable and cappuccino in the house. We just haven't sold really anything.
Right, just holding that stuff back.
We have frappuccinos. We have a line. It's our Fable line, and he is a gorgeous cappuccino. Actually, I think that might have been one of the pictures you sent her. Was Fable, but he's a charcoal color looking cappuccino with some tiger stripes. And he has been paired with Tigris, which is an extreme tiger, actually with a lily white that kind of overtakes it. And the extreme tiger actually was so extreme that it was fragmenting that lily white pattern. So it almost looks like little dots of pattern that comes through the lily white. So I'm actually really excited about that.
Have you guys come across any? I've been looking for high white xanthics without the lily, and because the Phantom seems to be a huge one within xanthics, and I find that a lot of the visual xanthics that come out have either like the empty back look, the pinstripe, and the only time you really see a lot of white is when there's lily present. So I know I have a a het for Xanthic that has a lot of Harlequin pattern, but I've always been I've been on this hunt, on the search for like to see what a high white Xanthic would look like, and if it's even possible. I don't know.
I think it's possible. I don't think we're
Yeah,
there
I
yet.
think Xanthic in
Yeah.
and of itself is such a once it's visual, when visual in nature, like I mean, it's a blacked out gene, so it's like
Yeah.
it's literally limiting, you know, your red and yellow pigments. So it's just, I think any white that you get in an Xanthic is going to be paper white. It's going to be that high
Yeah.
white. But it's just like that's such a all encompassing.
But also you got to look at the source. So the source of it already had so much phantom in it already.
Yeah.
We spoke about this in other videos as far as the phantom gene kind of tagging along with certain combos as well as hypo. So people really knowing that you have some of these genes in the mix and at play, especially getting all your animals from one source, which is where Altitude got his bought that whole project. But Phantom was already wrapped up into Xanthic. So it's going to take so much strategic breeding
isolation
to get, you know, an Xanthic line without it being het Phantom, without it being visual, and then breed it out.
Head out. Yeah.
So you see more patterns. So we're probably years out from seeing some of that because a lot of people, which I get it. I mean, you get an Xanthic and you get another Xanthic. You want to make some nice Xanthics. You're not really paying too much attention on whether it's Phantom, het Phantom.
Because again, it's crazy because if you really look like on Morph Market and you really like, unless you're really digging in and going to the different breeders that you know specifically have Xanthics, they're not just like extremely plentiful yet.
Right.
And they're just not. And we still have people coming to us now looking for, you know, Xanthics that are ready to breed. You know, they're really,
and we have to explain to them like it don't really work like that. It works like that for people at Brian's level, Altitude's level. When he brought it in, we were literally watching as he bought the whole project, brought it in, and he actually put out videos way back when he was doing YouTube videos. Like, none will be available. You know, he sat there, bred them for 2 years or whatever.
The very first time he actually posted it on his website. I was watching. What you sent it to me, you were like, look at this, and I'm like, I told Will, because we'd already bought like a gazillion geckos from him.
Right.
We already were like working with him. And I said, William, I'm the only one that really calls him William, but I said, William, we need to get on this train. Like, I love this animal. Like, whatever we have to do, we need to put our funds together and just buy this gecko. And we did. We ended up buying, we bought Eclipse, which is our OG mama, and we find out she's hypo. And then Shere Khan, which was an extreme tiger het, 100% het,
and he was ready to breed.
And he was ready to breed. Yeah, she was not, but he was. It was that next year when we were able to breed them. And then that end of that year, September, I believe it was, we made our first Xanthic sale, which was to Gecko Island, which they're phenomenal people.
So I definitely think you can get more white even without the lily white gene on Xanthic. I just think it's going to take some strategic breeding.
That's basically what I'm looking at for my Xanthics right now, because I have Pixel as well, and I would love to. I have this like idea of grandeur. I'm like, oh, Pixel, I want to make like static.
Right.
In order to do that and for it to work, I need more pattern. I need more white to be able to remove the pattern, right? So this is like long-term goals with it. But yeah, like that's one thing that I noticed with certain, like, and when it's new genes, you know, you'll have the genes like that tag along, and it's hard to kind of work in other genes and kind of remove other ones. And we see that with ball pythons too. Like, we work with Maple with Corey Woods, and he put it into het red Xanthic, and also he has pied in there as well, in pastel. But then when you're looking like to try het red Xanthic and pied, gives you basically mainly white snake with just color on the head, right? So you're like, well, I want to see the color of the maple, but if everything is going to be het pied with het red Xanthic in it, it makes it hard to kind of breed that aspect out in order to then be able to bring in the pattern. And when you have recessives, it ends up being a lot more of a long-term goal.
Yes.
Yep.
And it is. And I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. And like, you get it. I can tell by the way you're talking. It's like, it's a long-standing project. It's something that you foresee for the next 5 years or more, probably longer than that. So it's just, it's just maintaining that consistency and keeping your goals in mind and just not letting anything come in between you and that goal. There may be a lot of different ways you go about doing it, but just maintain your end goal.
I see Gerald was talking about sleep. So that's interesting.
So now I feel like I've put my body through all of that for
Right.
years. Now I'm like sleepy all the time. Like, I legitimately, it just took me like probably an hour and a half to get awake,
Right.
really, in the world.
And you know what? And it's honestly, we get more sleep now than probably ever before.
I almost feel like I kind of want to go back to being a little bit more busy, because I feel
I'm
like,
busy.
well, I mean, we're busy, but I'm saying
More busy.
you and I do not go days
No.
without sleep like we used to.
And that was the hard part. So in policing, it's not a safe
No, it's not.
act to do. But even for one point, making ends meet and being on call with SWAT and all that stuff, I worked every day for 4 years.
Yeah.
Holiday, everything.
Yeah.
So doing that,
And he wonders why we didn't have much communication.
and then also
Right?
at time when I would get off work, I would hit the gym for 2 and 3
Yeah.
hours at a time.
Mhm.
I turned professional bodybuilder during that time,
Mhm.
and it's just time consuming.
Well, and he was hangry most of the time too, so he was
Well,
a
and
real
that in itself, yeah,
like
the dietary requirements. That's
Ronald.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it's hilarious because when we actually resigned from being police officers and stuff, one of his friends came through the gym, and I was coming out of the gym. He was going in. He was like, "Yeah, I saw Will the other day," and he was smiling from ear to ear, and I'm like, "Yeah, he won't admit that he's a lot more well rested and happier and stuff, but he definitely is. He's not as disgruntled. He doesn't walk around looking like this all the time." He's a lot happier, a lot friendlier now than he used to be.
Friendlier.
You are. It's hilarious because people,
He's like,
like when we met,
don't have that. People are gonna think like I'm too friendly now.
yeah. Well, he's funny because when we first met, we met in the gym, and he was like, once you get him talking, he's fine. But like, he's not just the most approachable person, right? And I'm just like, I'll talk to anybody, however, I feel like we've almost switched roles at this point, because like, I think I rubbed too much of my friendliness off on him, and then he rubbed too much of his disgruntled, like, I don't even want to talk about anything to anybody. But yeah, now it's just like, this world has opened up so much, and I think that's why we give so much of our thoughts as far as positivity and trying to, push that into the community so much, because we have been in a horribly negative place, and we've seen some of the worst things that you could ever see in life.
Right.
And to see that, and then to come over here in this world and see, the sort of the bitterness and the backbiting and it's just not necessary.
Yeah.
It's very, what people think are really important topics that they want to just go in on. It's really, in the grand scheme of life, it is not important.
And that's the other thing too, right? Like, when you come from a lived experience and you've dealt with negative, like legit negative stuff, and then you see the little negative stuff with the reptiles, and you're like, this, at the end of the day, on the grand scheme of things, of what I've had to deal with in the past and what I know, it's nothing. Like, it's not worth the energy and the time to focus on it, to make it bigger than it needs to be, or to give it the attention that it doesn't deserve the attention. And then
I'm telling you, that's exactly it. I say it all the time. If it's not going to matter, it's not going to affect your life in 5 years, then you shouldn't be spending more than 5 minutes on it today, because that will completely zap every bit of energy, strength, positivity that you have for your present moment.
Yeah.
So
I think this is a good segue too into the stuff that you've been doing on YouTube. So I did take a little clip, because you guys have been very active on YouTube and on Instagram as well. I'm going to share a little one of your recent posts. Will pop up.
So Picasso is more of a brick red base. Okay, his portholing is absolutely insane, and he's fired up here. This is one of our males, and his sides are not identical. Most aren't in the white porthole project anyway. We like his structure, love his structure, and this dorsal striping. He has this tiger pattern on the dorsal as well. Really cool head structure. So we really want to knock this out of the park with this project, with really putting in key components of it. He has a lot of water on him at the moment, from spraying them down to fire them up. But check out the other side. His portholing is absolutely insane.
It's a very nice gecko.
Such a nice gecko.
Thank
And I
you.
love that you guys are doing these diamond series, because for me, one of the things I found helpful with the ball python side was some of the individuals, and I know they're a little bit more controversial people were in the YouTube world when I first got into ball pythons, were sharing a lot of the genetic side and what it looks like and what it looks like when you're bringing other genes. And I find that there was that when I first got into Cresties, that was lacking. So seeing this and you being able to actually show, what the red looks like and the tigering on, the dorsal and the portholes and how it looks and how it interacts. I think that's a huge benefit for people for putting those videos out, because one, it showcases what you have and what you're working with, which I think is great from a business standpoint, but also for other people when they're looking at understanding how certain traits and morphs work. It's really nice to see that visual aspect and then having you talk about it and explain, so you can kind of put it together, because I know it's tough when you get into it and you start learning all the different patterns and morphs, to wrap your head around it. And when you're starting to produce things that are combos, to really, be able to identify that and pick that out and see the traits, that could be a huge learning curve for a lot of people.
Yes,
absolutely.
It really can. And I think this is really good to kind of talk about. You talk about there's sort of a gap between, your beginners and understanding certain genes and like just delving into how things interact. But that's kind of the Diamond series kind of parallels our Gene Chaser series with our ball pythons, because it's like, it shows what we have, but it also just allows people to see that, you can come in and ask us questions. You can get in those comments and ask anything about any gecko we have or what gene is working with what, even if it doesn't apply to that specific gecko in that video. You're more than welcome to like come in the comments, come in our inbox. Like we say all the time, a lot of people are afraid to put things out there and ask questions of certain people, but we've always made it, or we've always made it very well known that, and I hate this like concept, but unfortunately in the world that we live in right now, you have to have those people that you can go to that is your safe spot. Right. So it's like we created this safe space for people to come in and talk to us about things that they may be afraid of voicing in other places. Because like I said, we see behind the why. We see the why. Why are you asking these questions?
Plus we've kind of created our own lane as well. When, we started vending shows, it's been the same approach. Since then to now, where we see people, we explain to them what crested geckos are, the whole 9 yards, give them all the information, and then we also let them know, hey, if you buy gecko from someone and you need more help, take our card, message us, we'll help you out. And they're like, wait, you help me with someone else's gecko? We're like, yeah, we will, absolutely, from day one right to now. And we've actually gained so many customers even from that aspect, where they're searching for certain things. If we go dig through our collection, photograph and send it to them. So we love helping people go down that path, because we know where we came from, getting the misinformation, just to close the sale in a big box store. So
and having that view is good, because like you have a lot of people who come in and they're new and they'll be in for a couple of years, and the way that they're treated can really influence whether or not you chase them away. And if you're chasing them away, you're also chasing them away as a client at the end of the
Absolutely.
day. So you're not doing yourselves any service. Like, you're doing a disservice by being negative and picking at people and pushing them away. Because
Yep.
then when you're losing a client and you're pushing people away from the industry and giving off that negative vibe.
And unfortunately, what seems to be happening too is what I noticed. I don't know if you've noticed this. I haven't really said it to you, but what I've noticed about it as a whole is when you have so much negativity, these newer breeders, these newer people are already poised to be on the defensive.
Yep.
So it's creating this whole stalemate almost of people who, okay, I'm a veteran breeder and I'm giving you all this information, and then this new person comes in, and because they've seen or they've experienced some other older breeder being nasty and negative to them, they automatically assume that every other veteran breeder that's giving them any type of information whatsoever or being constructively critical of whatever it is that they're doing is also being super negative. And it kills the vibe completely. It kills the vibe for education and for furthering people in the right way, in the positive way.
And not to mention, conflicting personalities as well.
Yes.
In that communication where you're like, what? It's such... Yeah. It's so eye-opening to watch some of these engagements. We speak about it, as far as trying to welcome people into the hobby, into the industry, whether ball pythons or crested geckos. It's a job. It's a full-time job, especially if you're going to choose to if you're going to choose to be an ambassador for whatever your species is. You should not, I can't tell you what to do, but you shouldn't, set up your table, set up your booth. They open the doors and you're like, hi. What are you doing? Like, you're pushing people away from you.
Don't be like Will in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we saw this a lot when we were just attending shows. We could be standing at a table, legitimately looking at something that we may have purchased at the time, and because there was no one willing to come up to the table and speak with us, and they're just like, well, if it sells, it sells. It's
sitting on the chair with their phone.
Yes. At Tinley this past March, I felt so bad because the day we went to leave, I fell in the shower, y'all. Like, I was trying to jump in the shower real quick. He was at the sink doing something. I don't know, primping.
My hair.
Yeah, he was primping. And I was like, I'm going to jump in the shower real quick so that I can be ready whenever you get out of the shower so we can go. Because it was like 2:00 in the morning, right? And I go to get in the shower and I did like a split, but my foot and my chin and foot came down on the metal part, and I was in misery, y'all. Like, it was
She's
terrible.
So graceful.
I am. I'm very graceful. But by Sunday, I had been on my foot. Like, I set up Friday, and I tried to stand up pretty much all day Saturday. But by Sunday, I just was like, it hurts so bad. It's throbbing so bad. And I had to sit there. And I felt bad because I'm sitting here knowing it's an injury. Like, I can't necessarily help it. But I hate sitting down and not engaging with.
Our regulars was
they were.
We come, we got a banner up, we're all flawless, jerseys out, we're on point, ready to rock and roll. She's sitting there on her chair with her flip flops on.
Yes, they're like, oh, so we're sitting. Yeah, they knew, they know that a lot of our Patreon members, I see Shanoa in the comments, like, our Patreon members are so good to us. She said, I can attest, her leg looked like it hurt real bad. But I feel
laugh about it now. Oh my gosh, this is a nightmare.
I remember Sunday, I think it was Brittany Gobble. Mm-hmm. She came by the table and was talking to him or whatever, and I was sitting over in the corner, and I'm like, I really want to get up and walk over there, but I just cannot. So I'm just going to stare at them from a distance and try to listen to what all they're saying, you know.
Yeah.
So
Everybody was coming by there saying hello. I mean, they're actually they were in shock. They're like, "You guys have no ball pythons here?" I'm like, "Nope, that's not in the plans. Not in the plans. You got to kind of stick to the plans." And actually reading through the comments, I see Gerald again. He coming in clutch this week, man. All the good questions. But he was saying the richest people in the world come close to bankruptcy 3 times in their life. That's actually a true thing. So very, very touchy topic is money in the hobby. Thing about it though is, we used to get the same questions like, "Oh, you guys do awesome, you guys do well." You have to set parameters around your plans. And when you start comparing apples to apples, yes, it makes sense, but a lot of it is apples to oranges. And where I'm going with that is the money we may have put in and invested into the business in the first 2-3 years, have we made all of that money back? Yeah, I would say 10 times fold, but you're really not going to see it because you fold it back into your business.
Reinvest. Yeah.
You fold it back.
That's the smartest way to do it.
It is. And if you step back in this hobby, even from a hobby level, keeper level, or big time breeder level, and you just really put pen to paper and plan everything out, you really can come out on top. You need to mitigate all your risks month to month, year to year, lower all your expenses as much as possible. And sometimes you may have a loan or this or that. Just make sure you structure everything where during the high ride, you're not riding so high where it's spin, and not pay off certain
your
things
liabilities.
Right.
Exactly.
So you pay all those liabilities now in times where, because honestly, we've seen a slow overturn toward the positive now. From the big drop in the industry, in the market correction, and now we're seeing people actually buy. But during that time, the only way you're going to survive is if you can't have the same expenses when you're riding high during the same low periods because you don't have the same
Exactly.
revenue.
Yeah.
That the journey to success is like
absolutely. So if you can keep your expenses low while you're taking that roller coaster, you're fine. You just can't make your expenses take the same roller coaster as your revenue.
You're going to have years where you're profiting and it's awesome. And then you're going to have years where you're not.
Right.
And it's a struggle. And it's rough. But
you can't make the struggle. You can't make it a struggle. Meaning you can't get toward the end of the year and for whatever sake of the argument, you're sitting there like, man, this was a really rough year. And then you sitting there with your CPA doing your taxes. And it's like, you made 6 figures this year. You're like, where the heck it went?
Where did all this go?
Right.
Yeah. Right. That was me last year. I was like, we're struggling, William. And he's like,
no, we ain't.
I'm like, because I'm just like this penny picture. You'll see like little pieces of paper with my figures all over it everywhere. And I am cheap.
Penny pincher is an understatement.
I am cheap.
We're going to start a new series where I'm going to start taking secret clips of Audra where she's rolling around like poor. I mean, holes in her stretch pants, mismatched top. I'm like, what's going on? All
there is better things to invest money on than Lululemon pants, okay?
Listen, I have to pretty much buy her clothes. I'm like, hey, I want to see you in this. Like, come on, help me here. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I never, the only thing that I do for myself are my nails.
Finally. Now that was the bad. I'm like, babe, you want to go get your nails done?
That was a battle. No, says yes. That was a battle. He's like, you're going.
Yeah.
It's not an option. You're going. And he's like, plus we can use your nails to look good in photo shoots.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's funny because we have a loyal follower. He has followed us and continues to support us. His name's Frank. And he's on a lot of the podcasts. He follows a lot of the podcasts, but it's Frank the Tank on YouTube.
Yeah.
But he always mentions
he sees
my
everything.
nails.
Yeah, he sees everything.
He sees everything. I'm like, I think he's CIA. I'm pretty sure. But it's awesome. But so I am such a penny pincher. I am the cheap one of the group. Like, he's like, yeah, he's like, we're going to spend $50 on this. $50? What are we spending $50? He's like, oh my God, you're getting on my nerves.
Yeah.
I get on his nerves after that. But I have learned, and that's one thing that people do need to understand, is that for me, it came from this fear that, because I do remember the times when I pulled up in my driveway and my power had been turned off, you know, and he can attest the same thing. He's been poor. And so like for me, it was a fear-based response that I don't want to be back in that spot.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that money will come and money will go.
Yep.
Okay. And you will be able to rebound. I mean, you got to use your common sense. You don't want like $100,000 in credit card debt or anything like that, but, or more, you know, but it's like, eventually it will come back to you. You put in the work and you will earn it back.
And it's all pretty relative too. Especially with like the ball python world, it mirrors everything with the crested geckos. And it's the same thing. Like it just happened with everything with the market correction. But you know, a lot of people, and it may be their truth. If I own a big ball python business and I'm established and I've been doing this full time and this is my only source of revenue, I'm going to function differently than me having 6 different streams of revenue and this being a serious business, but this is just one of the streams of revenue. So people need to receive the information and just come to an understanding of where the source is coming from. I'm not saying that people are misguided them, but think about it.
But they're living their own truth.
Right. You get a new gene and let's say it's a hot gene. Justin makes it hot. He loves it. And it's $25,000. One of the number one things that for us is not true that a lot of people put out is that, hey, it's no rush. Take your time. BS. There's a rush because you put that animal on the shelf, you grow them out, you do whatever it may take. But let's say it takes you 3, 4 years, 5 years, you took your time with it. It's an investment. But now you're upset because your $25,000 animal as a breeder is now only worth $5,000.
Yeah.
But you're in a rush. Yeah, you are in a rush because you don't want to put the animal too fast. Don't get me wrong. But business mindset, structure, ironing out your direction on what you want to do when your animal is ready needs to all be in place. You shouldn't be trying to find pieces of that puzzle to figure out how to make money back. It's more of an investment, but you have to move forward. And I see that a lot in the crested geckos and the ball pythons. And then at the end, you're sitting there like, what happened? Well, what happened was you wasn't in a rush. That's what happened. You know?
And you end up spending that same amount pretty much, if not more, doing this. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little piece, this little piece, this little piece, and be prepared because, and that's the thing, like, because once you get to that point, you've been left in the dust because somebody else has already come in and done what you were trying to do. So it's just like you really have to take into account that. And we understand, like, there are just places where there are people in situations that they just don't have that amount of money to drop on this.
But you have to read the lines. Prime example, like I said, you know, you get ABC gene. All right, this is a new gene, and this gene is $5,000. The price of it is irrelevant. We'll just say that it's a rare gene. The problem is people aren't reading between the lines because if one of the big heads, respectively, Justin, he's one of the top guys in the business, he gets that gene, you don't understand that he hasn't really done a bunch of videos telling you the backdrop. You have to just understand what's happening. He's not telling you, hey, I got this gene and I'm about to breed it to not a bunch of females, but I got 4 $30,000 females ready to breed just sitting in the tubs waiting. That's the cat. You got the genes, you already got the female, you built your infrastructure there. You have to read between the lines of what's happening. You know, they're not taking that new gene and breeding it to a single gene, whatever, and stepping up from there, which you can, but you have to have a plan. You have to be able to read between the lines, and the same thing applies for
to the crested geckos. It does. We're just, the crested geckos as a whole, the industry as a whole is behind ball pythons. I mean, far, like it's I would say 10 years in difference, like with crested versus ball pythons, as far as a business mindset. A lot of crested gecko keepers, it seems, from what I've learned over the course of being involved in it, are very emotionally driven people.
Yes.
Rather than logic.
Different clientele.
It is. And you have to you have to understand that. You have to be able to cater to that as a business owner if you're just doing crested geckos.
And it still can make sense for you too. You got to look at it, look at the bad things that's happened. You know, let's shed some light on that. Cappuccinos with the super cap, and you know, look at the bad thing. I want to use that as an example because people are not opening their eyes. You know, let's say you have females that, you know, may give us 10, 12 eggs, you know, a season. Well, let's say you buy a cappuccino for $7,000 before any of this stuff went on, and 2 years down the road, you figure out what's happening with super caps. Now, there's nothing wrong with the cappuccino single dose of the gene. Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
No.
And you stack it, you can do different things with it. But when that gene tanked, everybody was so upset and angry. But why? It doesn't make sense to be angry.
This is a part of the process.
And we're talking about a very difficult topic, spending so much money on the animal. But again, the not in a rush, have a game plan, everything needs to apply. I would, for us, do that 10 times over. If you say $7,000, you know, 4 years into investing $7,000 into an animal and it ends up being a male, and let's say you only have 3 females to that, 4 years in, let's say you end up in, you know, 30 babies that season off of that male. Let's say half of them are cappuccinos. You're not okay with getting $700 at that time per cappuccino. You pay for your animal, so they don't look at the line,
and,
you know.
And you also, I think a lot of people don't understand too, in business, you're going to have losses.
Absolutely.
Like it's part of business. It's just business. Like you're going to make mistakes, and it's not finite. Like it doesn't say, okay, my whole business is tanked, I'm just done, because that's an emotional driven response.
Right.
You really have to pack up and plant and say, okay, this didn't work out. Okay, I've experienced this loss. What do I need to do logically to put a plan together to be able to do better in the future? Because I'm not willing to give this up. Like there's a way, there's problem solving instead of just emotionally jumping at something and being impulsive in decisions.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That.
I think we have so much stuff that we could talk on that we could make this conversation be like 3 hours, and maybe it's worth it. Like a part 2. I think that would be awesome. We hit the hour 30 mark. So I think what we'll do is we'll wrap up today. It's been so much awesome information. And I honestly, I love chatting with you guys. And, I think, a part 2 would be an awesome opportunity, kind of even explore more into like the business side of things and the genetics and, you know, like the cappuccino market and how we're seeing the difference between that and Xanthic and so on. So that might be an opportunity to explore and have you guys back.
I feel like the 2 of you are like capsules of knowledge. Like you just have all of this knowledge that you want to just tell the whole world, but you don't have enough time.
And everyone just wants to listen after, right? We're like, oh, I want to know more.
Like I want to know more, okay? But I also have to do things for Father's Day.
We don't want to make some breakfast. 3 hours. If anyone can you want to give out your socials. So where can people find you? You guys have a Patreon, YouTube. Maybe share the links with everybody.
So Patreon, you're definitely going to want to get it on there. It's a lot of business information, a lot of personalized information.
It is a subscription-based platform, but I promise you, it's worth its weight in gold. A lot of our people who have been with us for quite some time now. Thank you, Shanoa. That's so sweet.
Yeah. And we actually, the announcement that we actually have a giveaway coming up on Friday.
On Friday, the 21st.
That'll be pretty fun. So they can catch us on patreon.com/ Flawless Crested Geckos.
Yes.
Pretty much everything else. If you go to Google,
If you
and
go to
put
Google,
Flawless
yeah.
Crested
You
Geckos,
gotta-
it's gonna pop up.
Yeah,
everywhere.
link
You guys have a
tree.
link tree too
Yes.
on your Instagram, and everything's listed there, right?
Everything.
Is
Yep.
there. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think the only thing that is not there is TikTok.
Yeah.
But I do the random little TikToks,
Right.
and so it that's the only thing I think is there. But
Well,
we do.
thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to pop you backstage and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Thank you,
And I
Donna.
think everyone loved listening to all this knowledge and probably were taking notes. Thanks. And enjoy your Father's Day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was awesome. That was like, honestly, I
Amazing.
could sit here and chat for another hour and a half easily
Yeah.
about everything,
We
right?
have to bring them back for sure.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. I think what
And
we'll
I'm like
do is
super
we'll,
quiet. I'm like super
Yeah.
quiet because I'm
you're
like
just,
trying
I'm
to
just
like
sitting there and absorbing
register
everything.
everything. I'm just like, come on, like April, your brain is working. I know it's like trying to soak everything up.
Right. I think we'll leave it at that for today. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Again, go on Instagram, put in your, who you want to wish Happy Father's Day to, so we can keep that train going and we can share Instagram feeds and such and different posts. And have a great week, everyone.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Shake your dreams from your hair. I'm already there, right beside you.